don't think you realize what kind of trouble you were in last night.
What's that like to live deliciously?
Who do you think those people were? If I told you their names, I don't think you'd sleep so well.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Cult Podcast. I am your host, Cody Maloof. With me, as always, my co-host, Dante Troina. And we're getting into one of the biggest movies of the year, one of the biggest surprise smash hits. We're finally talking about Obsession. Dante, took you a while to see this movie. You didn't get to see it quite as early as I did. So how were you feeling kind of leading up to seeing Obsession with all the hype that had built up at that point?
I mean, again, we've been recovering from the home theater fiasco here. And so I didn't get to see it until it was out really on iTunes the first day. And just knowing what I was in store for, this met all my expectations. I was really expecting something great. You had told me, okay, temper your expectations from maybe what some people are hyping up to be. And it then exceeded my expectations, met them in some cases and exceeded them. Such a fun time. I can see why this made or is making 300 million right now off of its tiny budget. Yeah, you can start us off, but it was a special first watch.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that it did meet your expectations. I was a little worried because I got to it on second week of release. That was the earliest I was possibly able to see this. I was lucky enough to be in New York City second week after release, so was able to go get it kind of just as the hype train was starting to build. You had to wait another month and a half or so.
Yeah.
When the hype had already, I think, reached its peak. Right when it comes out on streaming, everyone's finally getting to check it out that wasn't able to see it in the theater. So I was a little worried that maybe you were expecting something bigger or something that was just going to be different with all the hype that had built around it. But I thought it, even on a rewatch, I thought it totally held up. I don't think there's really a movie that you could say was overhyped, because I think it just fully lives up to the premise. And if you're expecting a really good, solid indie horror film with a cool premise and one electric performance, that's what you're going to get here. And I thought it totally lived up to the hype just in general. I don't see how anyone could say that it wasn't living up to their expectations, but I don't know. That's, hard to say.
Well, I got to watch it at the time where people have already started hating on little things about the movie and said, well, it wasn't that good.
It's getting to that point now where
I got to watch it at that point. That's how far behind I was. And so I had seen a little bit of those both sides, and I don't know what the fuck people are talking about. It's that classic, whenever something's a little bit too good or too many people like it, I don't know about that. But
it's watch this
certainly one.
Watch this movie and enjoy it before people on Twitter try to tell you it's overrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We're to that stage now. So congrats. You're among some really good fucking films, Curry Barker.
Indeed. I think that's where we should start with Curry Barker, someone who was not on my radar before this movie. Going back, looking at some of his shorts, he'd done stuff on TikTok, and he's made some short films and stuff that I have to go back and watch now. Some of his earlier shorts. But man, he really came out of nowhere for me. Fucking killed it, man. Absolutely killed it. I think he's one of the new voices in independent horror that we're going to have now. And it's really cool to see him kind of come out of nowhere and take the reins as someone kind of like a Zach Kreger has done in the past, as someone like a Kane Parsons is doing now in a slightly different way. I think there's a lot more here in Obsession. We talked about this previously on the Backrooms pod. But I think he has a really cool voice. I thought the script was really cool. I thought it's funny. It's really just delightfully messy and yucky in some ways. Overall, I think that he just really killed it. And I had no clue who he was before this. And now he's really someone to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's ballsy. It has fun with its characters. It knows its characters really well, which is, I think, something really hard to do in a, first real big, or not big feature, but a first real feature like this. And I got to see it 2 times before watching this pod. I asked you, hey, can I watch it again before reviewing it on the pod? And like you said, I feel like it, it's a little bit short of a window for me, but it did hold up. Everything in the script makes sense. I was still really engaged the second time. And it's one of these movies that you're going to watch 3, 4, or 5 times and find new little wrinkles or new things to pick apart or overanalyzed, or, every frame is saying something. And that's really hard to do through writing, which is what this film does.
Yeah, it's definitely very rewatchable. But I think Curry just really has such a strong command over this story. You can tell that he's been working on it for a while. Everyone is really bought
refined.
it is very refined. There's a few things that I don't think quite make sense, but I think we get into that later. But this is like very, very strong. It feels very professionally made. 750,000 doesn't, it's like a relatively small amount of money, but it is still $750,000 that went into this
Yeah.
movie. I know there's been a lot of people talking online, people that have worked on the movie, about the true run and gun indie nature of the production, and how, everyone is wearing multiple hats on set, and even the actors are doing different things behind the scenes and doing runs to go buy supplies and whatever. But it still cost $750,000 at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
obviously that's a very relatively small amount of money, but I mean, you can still see where the money went. And I think he used every dollar perfectly. And even like the special effects, like everything looks really good. It doesn't feel like a low budget, like a low effort kind of movie. It feels like we were able to use this budget to our
Yeah.
advantage rather than like have it be a disadvantage.
Well, one thing I think that we talk about can separate these small films and make us kind of disassociate with the fact that they are so small is the lighting. The lighting in this film is crisp. Like every scene is lit very well. Better lighting than a movie we just saw, Mandalorian and Grogu. Like way better lighting.
Sure.
Way better cinematography. Working with its limited set pieces to bring out the most of them. There's only really what 5, 6 sets in this film, and every time we're going to a set, another time we're seeing another angle of the house.
It's almost
Another,
all interiors in this movie. There's like no
yeah,
exteriors at all, which makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, very confined, but always exploring those sets where it never feels dull, and the story doesn't feel shackled to those sets either because it makes sense why everything's happening where it's happening. You're never thinking like, if only they had a bigger budget here, if only they could stretch this. There's never really that feeling. There's not a feeling that it can be taken to another level with an extra 5 million or something that's going to appear.
Yeah, I was really impressed with like how funny this movie is too. And it's funny kind of in
Yeah,
a weird way because you kind of don't know what else to do in certain scenes besides laugh. And that's kind of
yeah,
the feeling I got in the theater when I watched it for the first time, was kind of nervous, uncomfortable laughter, but still genuine laughter, like still finding things funny almost because you just don't know what else to do. Like in the scene when Nikki is standing in the corner and like acting super weird, and everyone's just
yeah.
like, you're kind of laughing because you're just like, what the fuck is going on here?
I think
Yeah,
of the flower scene
with the
where
flower vase
she's
in front of
walking
her.
in sideways. It's like this is just so out of left field and crazy. And what do I even do? You're like paralyzed with laughter. It's not even like a real. You're not comfortable in the laughter. You don't know what's going to happen next ever.
And this is a movie that's so much better experienced with a group of people, ideally in a movie
Yeah,
theater, because it's a really fun communal experience. And I think that's part of the reason it's playing so well and so many people are seeing it in the theater and it's
right,
making so much money. Is because I think it's getting great word of mouth and people are saying, you have to go see this with us, right? We'll go. I've seen it before. I'll take
right. I'll
you
go
to go
again.
see it.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's what, over $400 million now on a $750,000 budget. So
yeah.
Curry Barker is going to be around for a
Actually,
while just based on
actually,
that.
the most profitable film of all time now. Actually,
Is it actually the most profitable film of all time? I don't
I
know if
think
that's
when you
true.
adjust for inflation, that's
Is
true
that
at this
true?
point.
Like
I thought I
Blair
saw that a
Witch
couple days
Project?
ago.
Really? Well, I mean, we have to fact check that, but
All
it's
right,
among, I would say, at least the upper echelon. It's in the top tier of most profitable films.
it's crazy.
I think we have to talk about the Indy Never Ready performance. We were going to get there eventually, but like that is like the main thing in this movie, is like how
Yeah,
fucking electric she is. As soon as the credits rolled, I just turned to the person next to me and said, that girl's about to blow the fuck up. And they said,
yeah,
yep, absolutely. She absolutely kills this movie. I mean, I was not ready for that at all. I wasn't ready for um just like the tour de force performance of someone who I had never heard of before. She'd been on Superman and Lois. Some people had heard of
sure.
her.
Yeah,
She'd been
yeah,
on some
yeah.
stuff, but that was not on my radar at all. And I feel like I have a pretty wide radar for the most part, at least like aware of people if I have, even if I haven't seen them in anything, but she really just came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, the only person I knew in this movie was Andy Richter.
Well, yeah,
Um,
right, me too.
other than that, I didn't know anybody behind the scenes, anybody in front of the
Right,
camera.
it's all
But yes,
unknowns.
speaking of Indian Never Ready, like, yeah, it's crazy her saying that she had a hard time finding work after filming this. Like, how stupid do other casting directors feel after turning her
Mm-hmm.
down? Like, you just have dynamite in a bottle. This is a very special performance that should. I know we could like skip right to awards talk and probably deservedly so. I don't really know if this is the Oscars cup of tea, but
I think
this
it will
is
be
a
nominated.
very commanding presence throughout the film.
I think she will be nominated for actress in a leading role, and I'm gonna make that claim now
All right.
in July, and we will see in what's February when the nominations come out. We'll see, but
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now. I just think it's too big of a movie, and it's like such a huge movement. She's obviously great in it. I think she will be nominated, but I guess we'll
Right.
have to see.
They've the Oscars haven't warmed up to horror quite as much as we want them to yet, but they have shown a little bit of weird taste the last couple of years. You know, the Anora stuff. Last year, Weapons getting nominations, Sinners getting a lot of nominations last year. They have been more hip than
Mm-hmm.
the last couple of years. So I think we're both hoping and already almost casting our ballots for her as Best Actress. Like that's where it's got to go. I don't know what's beating this.
Yeah, I mean, what the stuff she's just able to do is incredible. I mean, she has like the scene where she's like doing this really big, wide smile for like an extended period amount of time. But it's just like all like the little things. I think it's really like for how big of a performance it is, it doesn't really feel like showy. It feels very naturalistic in a lot of
Yeah.
moments. Like even when she's just in her more like quiet, kind of regular moments before she starts freaking out. I think she just really holds the screen very well. And then that helps it
Right.
be more believable when she
Oh
starts
yeah.
to turn and starts to become really crazy and unhinged. You're never like taken out of it, I don't think. It's like you're always really like invested in it's very gripping. Like you're just really kind of scared by her and like not
Yeah.
knowing what she's gonna do next and how she's gonna act. And it's really powerful.
When you can tell why Bear liked her so much, even in the moments when she's starting to turn, where it's like, yeah, this girl's just awesome. You know, like she has this magnetic presence about her. And this movie does not work nearly as well without her and that magnetic presence that's through the screen, even in, you know, minute 40, 50, as we're getting a little deeper, maybe not too deep into the film, you can still see why there's a desire to be with this girl because she does just feel like a catch. She feels out of his league. She feels like somebody that lights up every room that she's in. And everybody's that's speaking to the writing and her chemistry. Everybody's concerned at her behavior, and rightfully so. And that makes it add to the believability of the film itself or the premise itself.
It's a very simple premise, very relatable
Yeah.
premise, I think, for a lot of people. Um, and it's very simple, like lesson that we learn in this movie is be careful what you wish for. Like how many times
Yep.
this could have been like a 15, 20 minute like Twilight Zone episode instead of a whole movie. But
Mhm.
it's extrapolated out over an hour and 45 minutes. And Curry Barker, he just feels so in tune with that sort of storytelling with like it's a very simple
Yeah.
premise. But we're gonna see how far we can possibly take this.
Yeah.
And I think we took it about as far as we possibly could.
Right.
Um,
Without it all stretching it too thin either. Like just getting into the plot, I don't feel like there was a moment like even if my interest was dipping, I was never not gripped by the story. I don't feel like this movie overstayed its welcome or maybe
no.
even I think a lot of people think it cut off too short in a way, which it has a really good ending, but a lot of people are saying like they wish they saw a little bit more after that. And so that's a sign of a really good film as well.
Right, leave them wanting more. I think that's
Yeah.
perfect. Like hour 45, get in, get out. I think you took it about as far as you could. I don't know. I think it's much better to have to think about what happens
Right.
after the credits start rolling than to go into that. And Curry's already said that like there is going to be more movies in this universe and things might be referenced in other movies from this movie. So you never know what, other lore or breadcrumbs or stuff we might get that ends up happening from this. But I don't really want to I'm not concerned about that. I think it's just standalone. Like you don't have to worry about sequels or extended universes. And I think it's kind of just a bit ridiculous that we're already getting into that sort of thing. But I guess when you make 400 million on a under $1 million budget, that's the kind of things you start having to, deal with pretty quickly.
Yeah, congrats. You're a full-time IP now. Uh what 8-digit deal Curry Barker signed now?
Uh-huh.
Um yeah, dude. He's gonna be his brain is gonna be plucked. It's gonna be like Fetty Wap in the factory in 2015. You're just crank out hits for us, please. They're gonna be stretching him as thin as they can. I think he seems like someone who's up to the challenge. He seems super just in small interviews I've seen, like mature for his age, ready for the moment, unfazed by it. I'm sure his head's just spinning as to how this movie got this big. But seems like he has a lot of fresh ideas to come and isn't caving in as much as he says like there's more stories to be told. I don't think he's caving into like we're going to do a sequel right now. You know, he's not jumping ahead of his own stories that he wants to tell. I think he has some other stuff in the bag, like ready to go or darn near filmed at this point. So that's really exciting. He's got a lot of shorts out there, maybe a lot of stuff he can build off of from those shorts too. So now that you have a budget behind the dude, sky's the limit.
Do you want to talk about the supporting cast here a little bit? I think everyone is really good. Michael Johnson he's essentially he is the second lead in this movie. He's
Yeah.
lead 1B, I guess you could say. He's really great as kind of this guy who you feel bad for in the beginning and you want to kind of empathize with him, but at a certain point, obviously he is the villain of the movie. As much as Nikki is the victim, even though she is terrorizing Bear throughout this entire movie, she really is the victim, and I think it's delivered perfectly in that really creepy, like goosebump inducing scene when Bear calls the helpline on the One Wish Willow, and the guy on the other end, who actually is Curry Barker, tells him that Nikki is essentially trapped in some like alternate. He doesn't even say that, but he alludes to it. And he's like, "Oh, do you want to hear her or whatever?" And then she's just like, obviously, her soul or whatever is like trapped in this demonic sort of like hell afterlife, whatever you want to call it, right? Um, that's I think when you really start to realize like that Bear is the bad guy here because he does not give a fuck. He doesn't care.
There's a moment that I really turn on Bear, and it's when Nikki's first off saying, or having her episode after the party, and he's just, I will just want you to be Nikki. I just wanted you to be like Nikki. Like, brother, you don't want anything that comes with the actual person. You just want it to be like something you think you enjoy. You obviously haven't even taken the time to actually know this girl. Movie very clearly spells out that he hasn't tried to attempt to make a move at her, and maybe he doesn't even really know her all that well. And then on top of that, he doubles it with the "what's so bad about being with me?" when she's in her sleep, "Kill me, Bear, kill me," just begging. She has that
That's
moment of
another awesome
conscious
scene.
over, she's about to wake up. Don't wake her up. Be quiet. And "what's so bad about being with me" is the most loser shit I've ever heard on screen, in the best way. It plays into this film and gives it another layer of complexity. I'm really glad that he's not just, victimized of his own wish in the fact that she's just terrorizing him. Like, it shows he's a shallow human being and he's got way in over his head with this wish. And now he's pushed to the point of just being a straight up asshole.
Yeah. Michael Johnson is also someone who I was not familiar with before. All these guys are going to have, a couple more big movie roles out of this at least, or, maybe supporting roles in big movies, whatever. But everyone's going to get a lot of juice off this movie, including Cooper Tomlinson, who is best friends with Curry Barker, as far as I can tell, right? They've been working together for a long time. They dropped out of school together to start pursuing this passion, dropped out of film school, I think, or acting school. I can't remember which one. Cooper has been in, I think, almost every project that Curry Barker has made up to this point. He has a starring role in Curry Barker's upcoming project with Aaron Paul. And he's great here too. I mean, he has a much smaller supporting role. Not a whole lot given to him as far as like a character arc goes, but he's just fun as like the kind of I don't know if douchebag is the right word, but kind of just this friend he does seem genuinely concerned about Bear and about Nikki, but he's also kind of flippant sometimes in the way he like approaches things. He brings some levity to the cast, and he's great too. I mean, you don't have to do a whole lot when you have great material like this with a great director and a lot of other really good performances around you. He's really good just kind of being like the third or fourth lead in this movie and just kind of doing what he has to do.
Right. He feels like someone who has a long career of like 5 to 10 minutes of screen time, a little bit of comedic relief, is going to hold you down as a friend in a movie like this. I don't know if he feels like the leading man quite yet, or like he's ready for a breakout role, but he does feel like just plug and play him in most genres and he'd be able to figure it out, pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He almost does feel like someone that we're just going to see in 15, 20-minute roles for the next 10 years or something.
He'll be one of our guys.
Yeah. I like him. And then Megan Lawless. This is essentially a 4-person cast with the other previously mentioned actors and Megan Lawless. She probably has the least amount of stuff to do in this movie from any of our leads. Really, her main scene is her face getting brutally bashed into a brick on a steering wheel by Freaky Nikki. But I mean, it's just great to see all these young actors like get so much juice off of this movie. Not that Megan Lawless is very much the fourth lead in this movie, but still, I mean, she's great here. She doesn't have a lot to
Right.
do, but she does a lot with a little. And I think this is
Yep.
more of like a
Yep.
proving ground than anything else to be like, hey, I can hold the screen, I can do this. I was in this really big good movie. I think we'll be seeing a lot of her as well as along
Yeah.
with the other three.
I think her role is the most obvious and maybe the most stereotypical out of any of the characters. And I still don't feel any sort of dip when she's on screen. Like it still all makes sense. She's still holding my attention. I'm not like invested in Sarah's music career, but Sarah does feel like a real person enough that I have respect to not look at my phone when she's on the screen or kind of like dwell off of my own thoughts. Like I'm still locked in when she's on screen. The line delivery of "What's the verdict on Cat" is flawless. Paired with the line and the shocking moment, right? But just flawless delivery. Like, what does that mean? And the "I'm on your left." I think I even pointed out when we were watching. I was like, "Oh, she's sitting on his left now."
Yeah.
And then she said, "Well, I was on your left." And it's one of the most obvious lines of the film, but she delivers it fine enough that you buy it. She is a person.
Yeah, I just was really thrilled with this movie. Like generally speaking, just had the command that this young writer director is showing over all these different moving pieces on a really small budget. I don't think it can be overstated how big of a success this movie is on all fronts. I mean, even if this had come to streaming, had been like a Shutter original or something, I still think we would be talking about the quality in the same way. I don't think we would be talking about the big movement and how maybe these actors are getting so much juice off of it just because it wouldn't have been the box office hit that it became. But I still think
No.
the quality is indicative of like the amount of time and effort that went into this.
Yeah, completely agree. It's like I said again, polished, well thought out. Doesn't feel like it left anything on the table. Again, just really impressive for a first feature. I can't help but say that word again because it just is. I still think even with Indy Navarette giving the performance she does, uh, the movie's still really good without her. It's not great without her, with another actress in that role, but I'd even say it's really good without her because it is a polished script. It does look good. It does all make sense. Everything does line up. Obviously, you're nothing without the people that carry out your vision, but it's a damn good vision.
Yeah, where do you see us going from here as far as this new wave of like YouTube horror filmmaking? I think maybe this point has been talked over a little bit too much because
Right.
other people have come from making movies on YouTube besides Kane Parsons and Curry Barker. I mean, these are the two like main examples now because both of these movies were such big hits.
Yeah.
Um, but where do you see us going? Is this like kind of a new wave of like pipeline, a new pipeline essentially of YouTube to Hollywood success? I mean, is it really that easy?
Yeah, I think you and I should start filming something. Get out there.
Never
It's
know.
Yeah, we talked about it. I think the Backrooms pod is almost like more conducive to this type of discussion because it has the theory tied with it or the internet wave of Backrooms behind it. Whereas this is an original idea from Curry Barker. It doesn't spawn from like another YouTube short or anything. But we've seen people like Damien Chazelle come up with the short film of Whiplash and then making it into a feature film. And that wave of directors never caught on. We're really seeing a wave of it still. Like I'll double down on that statement. I think we've been sending things back and forth to one another of things that have gotten greenlit over the past couple weeks. Like Spielberg's producing this, and I am interested how long it takes. Well, I think it's already taken or been taken to that point where Hollywood is now reaching down into it instead of it ascending up into Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's going to be everybody's biting the flows, everybody's looking for that next crevice. And we'll see how long that phase of it lasts because it seems like there's a lot of original talent that we need to just be paying attention to, or, just letting us get hit across the face with it, like this film.
Yeah, I think it's just really crazy to think that Curry Barker once considered putting this on YouTube for free, thinking if this is not going to get picked up, no one's going to buy this. I'm just going to release it on YouTube. I mean, could you imagine? Do you think we would really be talking about this in the same way if it had come out as a feature length YouTube video? Would we really be talking? Would anyone even have heard of it? I mean, would it have caught on culturally the way that it did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so hard to think about this sometimes. And I'm sure that this is the exact same conversation that every single other studio executive is having right
Oh
now,
yeah.
besides the ones at Blumhouse. They're just patting themselves on the back, thinking we're fucking
Right.
geniuses, you know. Every other studio exec is thinking, how did we miss this? I mean, is this replicable?
Right.
Is this even like possible to do again? Or did they just get or did we just get lucky with this one? It's really
Do
it's a
we
weird future or a weird alternate reality to imagine.
do we get to a world where, like SoundCloud rap, where things are just being dropped on YouTube, like full features? I don't know if, like you talk about, the awareness would be there. Like, would we be talking about it if it was dropped on YouTube? Probably not yet. But does this maybe start more confidence in small time filmmakers to just drop a full movie onto YouTube and have some faith in themselves? And I do think the internet's to that point where it's going to find its way no matter what. And so I wouldn't be shocked if like this does start not just a wave of YouTube creators going into Hollywood, Blumhouse, Neon, whichever, but also people just dropping full length features on YouTube and letting it ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you got to just bet on yourself. And Curry Barker has done that up to this point. And I think obviously it takes a lot of luck to become this successful in the industry, even though obviously he's been working at it for a long time, waiting for his big break. But there was no guarantee that this was going to be a hit. You know, just kind of one thing led to another and it snowballed into this massive hit. And it's just really cool to see something organic like this play out because it doesn't always happen this way. I mean, a lot of stuff that deserves an audience like this never gets it. Even stuff that
Yeah.
gets, full on theatrical releases from major studios like Blumhouse or other companies in that vein. Some stuff just gets really underseen for one reason or another. And I think that's why it's so awesome that this movie doesn't have any big stars, has no recognizable faces for the most part, other than Andy Richter, which this movie doesn't need him at all. It's just kind of funny that
Right.
he's there.
Right. It's not getting an Andy Richter push. I had no
No.
clue.
It's just crazy. Like I remember seeing the trailer for this movie 6 months ago or something, the first little teaser, and the first teaser was the scene of Bear in the phone calling the One Wish Willow helpline and saying like, is her
Yeah.
love real? Is it real? And him going, just because you chose this for her doesn't make it any less real. And that's where the
Yeah.
trailer cut right there. It was like a 30-second teaser. And that was it. And I remember just thinking, watching that, like, oh, that looks really interesting. I immediately thought, like, oh, that feels like a Twilight Zone episode. That feels like just a really like fun premise. Wish someone
Yeah.
that will love you. And then obviously the consequences are dire. Very simple, very like fun, like solid, like standard premise that just like totally took off. And it's just awesome. It's awesome to see. And it just really gives me hope for whatever we have coming next, which I don't think we even know
Yeah.
what will be next, but I'm hopeful.
Well, one thing I really appreciate, and I should have been better prepared with this, but there's the One Wish Willow, and there's other things by it that could spell out like your own movie or your own tale for things that are being
Just keep
sold in
going
the
back into that
store. But
shop.
keep going back to that shop. But I also really like that the movie it wasn't patting itself on the back too much and like, okay, here's what really happened though. Like it does leave a lot of stuff in suspense. It doesn't get too deep into its own lore. It doesn't try to like over explain the premise to you. It's just going. It's not concerned with, well, it actually is a demon possessing her. Like you can come out of this movie and not think it's its own demon possessing her. It is, said in a couple scenes or mentioned that she's coming or whatnot. But I'm glad that it wasn't like we have to defeat her. It's her that's possessing our friend here. We need to, it just
Right.
doesn't go into that stupid shit. It doesn't go into Long Legs third act.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you there's just enough lore in this movie to keep you really intrigued, but not too
Right.
much to where it's like overplaying its hand a bit more. In kind of the same way that Backrooms, I think, mostly does the same thing, but I think even in the end of Backrooms, it kind of loses
Gets
the
up its
plot a
own
little
ass,
bit,
yeah.
and it kind of tries to over-explain things. And this is what this movie's actually about, and this is how the Backrooms work. The premise is very straightforward. You wish whatever you wish when you break that One Wish will come true, and you only get one
Yeah.
wish. And as soon as he tries to like undo the wish, and the guy says the wish will last as long as you live, it's like, oh well, I already know what the fuck is gonna happen. Yeah, this movie's gonna have to kill himself at the end.
Yeah.
Which he does. Spoilers, but obviously which he
Yeah.
does. Um, but not in the way you would think, right? It sets you up
Right.
for, oh, he's gonna shoot himself, and oh well,
Oh, he's such
he's
a coward,
too big
dude.
of a pussy, he can't even do that. So he just takes a bunch of pills. But then her breaking the willow, like, and then like that ending where they like have like that moment where they're actually in this weird kind of like they're actually in love in a really weird
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And then he dies, and yeah, it's a really like, I think a smart ending. It ends as well as it could. I'm glad that you, like you said, it didn't get way too much into the lore of what actually happens to the real Nikki when you wish that, what actually happens to the real person. It
Right.
just kind of hints at it, and it lets you kind of imagine what is actually going on, which is much more effective.
Yeah, we didn't go into whoever the phone call guy, the customer service rep was, where he says, "Do you want to hear her?" and she's screaming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we don't have to see more than that. That's interesting as shit. That writes, is she trapped there with 1,000 other prisoners that they've had One Wish Willows about? There's even a moment where he Googles about the One Wish Willow, and there's
Mm-hmm.
some people saying it didn't work for them, right? On
Yeah.
Reddit threads or whatever. It's like, okay, that's interesting, but I don't have to know like your wish was so powerful that it bonded with the One Wish Willow, or like we don't have to get into like midichlorians or something with the guy and his one wish. But then we see his friend do a wish and he gets $1 billion, right? And so you're kind of questioning like, does it work for everyone? But I think it does, but I don't really like, I don't need to see that. I'm not itching for the answer to that. I'm just enamored with what's actually going on screen, because it's so much fun. It sticks to its tracks so beautifully, which again I can't commend enough.
Yeah, I just also like how like matter of fact the people at the shop are. They're like, yeah, it works. Like, or
Yeah, of
that's Curry Barker on the phone, but they're the same way. They're like, when he's buying it, he's like, these don't really
course it
work, do
works.
they? Or something. There's like, yeah, it works. You get one wish, it
Yeah.
works. And they're like, and then he comes back in to try to like, get a bunch more, and they're like, he's like, well, what happened? Like, what, yeah, did you get what you wished for? Like they all know that it works, and they don't
Yeah.
like it. They don't make a big deal out of it. It's really
Well,
funny.
the comedy in that too, where he says, well, that's not all that bad. She loves you, man.
Right?
Like
He's
that's
like,
a fucking good
no.
wish. No, 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 no. And he's all bloodied up. Hey, you can't be coming in here with this energy, man. Like that's extra roles like that and extra scenes like that are what make this movie and really complete it, because it just fills out the scenes that could dip or
Hmm.
could get bogged down in lore, and makes them laughable, makes them like a moment of levity, and then makes the scares that much scarier. Do you think, because I have seen this debate and I do not agree with it at all, do you think this movie relies too heavily on like shock you moments?
No, I wouldn't say so. What
No.
really gets me is the premise. I think I was not
Yeah.
expecting any of the really shocking moments in this movie, and they definitely caught me off guard. And I think they kind of
Yeah.
add to like why this movie's so fun to watch with a lot of people. But for me, what really intrigued me was the premise, which is why I think that
Yeah.
initial 30-second teaser was essentially the premise of the movie spelled out to you. Be careful what you wish for. You wish for someone to love you. You might not like the consequences. That's really what the bones of this movie are. That's the backbone of this movie, and the really weird relationship dynamic between Bear and Nikki. It's kind of like almost it is a coercive relationship, in one that she cannot get out of. She's even snaps out of it at a couple certain moments to let the audience know that she is not a
Right.
part of this. The real Nikki does not want to be here. That's what I think the strongest element is. I think all the shocking stuff is kind of just maybe the cherry on top, I guess, for lack of a better
Right.
phrase. Like that just adds a lot of flavor to me, and I think that takes it up a notch for me. I wasn't really expecting any of like the truly shocking moments, like the puking and the really gross shit and the face smashing. But that's what Kurt Barker's into, and I think that's what a lot of people go to a horror movie like this for.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't.
Just to be uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right, but I don't really go to a horror movie for those kinds of things. I go for like the plot, the premise, the characters, and then if it has that in there and it works good in the story, then that's even better. And that's what this is to me.
Yeah. There's this dwindling feeling throughout the movie that keeps you uncomfortable outside of the scares itself, because you don't know how deep this goes, and that feeling feels similar to something like Talk to Me, where there's just this feeling of dread, and there's
Mhm.
a very recurring theme of time running out. Like all you have is time is one of the first things Bear is told, and then he
Hmm.
gets a phone call from Nikki, and she's saying that she's putting her in 2 weeks. My God, like how it's so funny because I don't think that's people point out like he'll still know Nikki. No, that's not bad writing. That's him just being over dramatic about her putting in her 2 weeks,
Right.
right? Like that person does not just disappear from your life, obviously. You know, classic overanalyzation, people taking everything literally, where our character is clearly a selfish jackass, especially by the end of this film. And he's thinking that because she's putting in her 2 weeks notice, he can't be with her. And he's on this timeline and rushes into this relationship that, again, just falls right apart. Do you have a favorite Nikki scene? If you had to pick one, there's the iconic no, no, no
Well,
scene,
it's already become
but
a meme, and that's why I think
yeah,
this movie's really catching into the culture now because there's
yeah,
a couple select scenes that you can like clip and use out of context, use for all sorts of things. I don't, that's a good question. Um, I don't know. Maybe like I mean, I really like the part when she duct tapes the door shut. I just thought
yeah,
that was
yeah,
fucking hilarious. Like it's so kind of on the nose, and when the camera like turns around and you see what he's seeing, and he sees the door has been like completely like covered in like 100 rolls of duct tape, and then I really like that part. That's just kind of funny and like really caught me off guard. But
yeah.
what about
I
you?
don't, I don't like her shooting the best friend. Because I just thought that was like okay, whatever. Like that felt like one moment of like, wow, that's shock value. But I do love the I will fucking shoot myself right now, Bear. And just she's wearing her hair like Sarah's hair. She's drawn the tattoos on herself.
Uh-huh.
She's wearing what I think is Sarah's clothes as well, like down to the T. The Hansel and Gretel stuff,
Yeah, when she's reading that
fucked up,
poem.
dude. Holy shit! About like I will twist your arm and shove it inside me, like it has
Uh-huh.
been many times before, and kind of hints that she sees Bear as a brother. Um, Fucking weird, dude. Now I wanted to get into as well. Do you think if Bear just played it cool and maybe said, on the car that one night, like, yeah, I do have a crush on you when he takes her home. Do you think he had a chance at like not a relationship, but a hookup, a something?
Anything would have been better than this. So,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, yeah, she even asked him, like, do you like me? He like straight
Right.
up confronted him, and he's too much of a pussy to even say that when actually being confronted with it. So I think he got what he deserved.
Yeah.
Throughout this movie, he got what he deserved for doing that, for making the wish. Um, I don't know if he ever had a chance though. I would say no. I would say
Yeah.
no, he did not have a chance, but he was friends with her, right? Like he still had
Right.
something, and he ruined it because he like couldn't live with that, I guess. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, I just think too, like you find out that her and Ian have been hooking up,
mhm.
but there's no strings attached. And it's like, dude, maybe you couldn't have dated her, but you obviously just want her for some form of affection. And if you were just man enough to say something, she seemed like free spirited enough that, maybe you did have a chance. She did smile at you. She did, make it a point to interact with you in conversations. I think we talked about Curry Barker having Indy do takes where she doesn't like him and takes where she does like him, and even confusing the cast members and splicing them
Mhm.
together and just kind of mixing it all up. So we're as confused as maybe Bear is in that situation. Um, but yeah, just all time. I don't think he had a shot at like some 10-year relationship or getting married to this girl, but all time just bag fumble in the first like 10 minutes of him just, you're being asked by the girl that you do like, you've been practicing all day, and you just, no, I don't like you. Right after she says she wants you at trivia that night, like if you had your one shot, it was that night.
Right.
And instead you use the one wish willow by, yeah, no balls.
Yeah. That's what this movie is really fun because there's so many different angles, and I think it's very relatable to people of our age, just like pursuing
Yeah.
relationships, doing this whole kind of like how young people live their lives and pursue the people that they like, that they don't like, whatever. Um, it does feel just very like true to life in a lot of those ways, especially
Yep.
when he's like in bed scrolling on Instagram, like stalking this girl's Instagram, doing all this kind of stuff, but he's too
Right.
afraid to actually like say how he feels. I think a lot of people feel that way, and it's really easy nowadays to kind of like have this weird like parasocial relationship with people where you
Yeah.
like feel like you know them. You feel in this case
Right.
he
You
actually is
follow them,
friends
you
with the
like all their
girl.
photos. Yeah.
In this case, he actually is friends with her, so it's a bit different. But I think that still kind of speaks to like how I think a lot of people move through the world nowadays of relationships. Um, and I think a lot of people, if they had option would use this one wish willow if they didn't fully understand
Oh
the
yeah.
consequences.
Yeah.
Um, and there's just a lot here. Like there is a lot here to talk about and discuss and rewatch and reanalyze. And people will be doing it for a long time because I think people are still asking about this movie. You know, people that I work with, people that I know, are saying,
Yeah.
"Have you seen that movie Obsession? Is that movie any good? Should I check that out? I've heard a lot about it. I've heard it's good. Like, yes, you should watch it for sure. I mean, this is going to be probably the most talked about movie of the year, I think. Maybe
Yeah.
besides The Odyssey and maybe a couple others that are coming, but for this tiny independent movie to be this big of a movement is just really inspiring, and it's really fun to talk about.
It's made more than Sinners did, from what I understand
Yeah,
already.
it outgrows Sinners.
And Sinners was fucking huge last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, felt like a movement, had IMAX re-releases. I don't know if this will get IMAX re-releases. It's not made for that format whatsoever, but you know, this and it won't even get re-releases, but
I could see a
fuck,
theatrical
it'll
re-release
have
for
a
this.
wave, dude. It'll and you know, it's still all in front of Halloween. This will be a movie that's
Right.
rewatched around Halloween. There will be Nikki costumes at Halloween
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh
Nikki and
yeah.
Bear, right? There will probably be Sarah costumes for Halloween too,
With the face
you
all
know,
fucked
or
up.
like somebody holding a mannequin because it was a
Uh-huh.
mannequin in that scene for
Right, yeah.
sure. Somebody as Nikki holding a mannequin or something. That this will be all over. And I do like and agree with what you said, where you know these people have these surface level relationships that they think are deep. You know, you said parasocial, but even when he's talking about why he likes her, he's like, remember that one time in class when you made me laugh?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we go to trivia and you answer some good trivia questions, and basically what he's saying is you're beautiful and I'm too nervous to dig in deep with you. You know, he doesn't even know about her dad's situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's all just a shock to him. So that shows how surface level his affection is. But for him, it runs deep. You know, he is, like you said, stalking her Instagram. She smiles at him a couple times and gives him some hope. And there's just nothing there once you start peeling the layers back. Even when they're having like their montage of connection, he's not he's not figuring out much about her. He's just enjoying that she is his.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've said it all. I mean, the themes are there, and there's a lot more I think to dig into that we've even gotten into at this point.
A lot,
I
yeah.
think how are we going to end this pod here? I mean, what final thoughts? What else can we wrap this up with other than like I'm really excited to see what all of these people do next. Everyone involved
Right.
in here, really excited. I think they all have big things ahead of them. So that's kind of what my final thoughts, anyways.
Yeah, well, to me, it just felt like even though it has this small cast, it feels like a movie where you're going to be like, "Holy fuck, this was loaded." In a couple of years, whether it's people behind the scenes, Rock Burwell's score, just magnificent, unsettling, but also has those romance and twinge hints to it. Like feels like a rom com in moments, as the movie does. Fits the movie so well, fits the themes. Taylor Clemens cinematography, yeah, he's got a future, right? Like this was very competently shot, showed off, has one of the most iconic shots of the year, I think, with her standing in the doorway.
Yeah.
So I think behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, in front of the camera, we have a pretty full cast that has a long ways to go. And all in all, dude, Indy Navarette, like we can keep saying what we're going to take away from her, but to me, it was like on the level of, you know, Lily Rose Depp and Nosferatu doing things not just in the scenes, but like just with your body and your
Mm-hmm.
presence and how you're interacting with the scenery and just chewing everything up and just the gutsiness of this performance and the freedom that comes with it too, from being such a small film. Like you're going to have a hard career trying to beat this performance. This
I,
is a
I think
career definer for most people.
that is a great comparison. It's one I think I've heard. I think I've heard that before too. Some other people making that comparison, and it is a good one. And it's interesting to think that. I mean, Lily Rose Depp obviously in a very different position career wise than Indy
Yeah.
Navarrete. I mean, she is the daughter of Johnny Depp. She was in a Robert Eggers film. I mean, that's already you're ascending to a much
Yeah.
higher level of stardom. But no one that performance I think was a bit overlooked, and that was a movie that was a
Yeah.
big hit that a lot of people saw. Um, and I feel like that performance didn't really get all of the credit that it deserved, and this
Yeah.
performance really is getting that credit, and that's good to see. Lily Rose, she's gonna be fine, right? Like she's already in the next
Right.
Robert Eggers
Right.
movie. She's got it, she's good.
She's
So
set.
I
Yeah.
think maybe people are latching onto Indy a bit more because she's an unknown and because it's maybe a bit more impressive to some people that someone who really just has come out of nowhere can like take the culture by storm in the way that she did. But I
Yeah.
think that is a very apt comparison. I just think it's interesting that Indy Navarrete is getting this huge like push.
Yeah.
People are already talking about awards when Lily Rose Depp, I think, had a very comparable performance, and in some
Oh
ways,
yeah.
maybe even I don't know, want to say better, but I mean, it's hard to say better or worse, but certainly equally as
Yeah.
commendable performance as
Yeah.
Indy has in this movie. I really wonder what we will see Indy do next, if she is going to join the franchise machine or if she's going to do another Curry Barker movie. Like, I would like to see Curry keep these guys around. I just always like it
Yeah.
when directors kind of have their gang. That's always
Yep.
fun. I don't think this is the last you'll see of any of these people in another Curry Barker film. So interesting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
And speaks to the performance and how she lands at home, and that people do sympathize with her. You know, it's a really unsettling performance, and she's become a darling out of it. And it's not just you're the next big thing acting wise. It's like, no, we really like you. Like, you seem like you fit in a lot of stuff that we want to watch, and so uh, feels on that same wave, even bigger than like Mikey Madison as Honora, where you're just this darling and just sweep through a season and everybody wants you in everything. And what are you doing next? Florence Pugh, like that level. It's a really quick ascension and feels like you've had your best performance, but also your best days are ahead of you somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really cool paradox for her to be stuck in right now.
Yeah, I just can't wait to see how this performance continues to carry on. If it does make it all the two award season, it's come out really early, so it's going to be a long like campaign when
Yeah.
she eventually does start campaigning. Um, yeah, but this is not the last we're going to be hearing of her. We will, even if she's not nominated, she will be at the Oscars, and she will be. This performance is going to be referenced and joked about at the Oscars and memed even
Oh
before
yeah.
then.
Oh yeah.
This is something that's going to stick around for a while, which is really fun.
I agree with you saying, like, I hope they stick with Curry Barker. I hope they stick with a director that knows how to use them, because she was clearly being used, I think, to the best of her abilities. Like, what else is in the bag, dude? She emptied the clip on this film.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope she has a director that doesn't just pigeonhole her or stereotype cast her into another horror role. Like, let's see more of these boundaries, because she obviously seems to have a lot of commitment to a role and a lot to give. And just this really cool star power behind her, that while we can perform it or compare it to other people's ascensions and other performances that we've seen, doesn't feel like there's anything really to pinpoint like, oh, she's just like this actress. And so we need more original voices at all times. And so just having another one through an actor, through a director, writer, through what feels like cinematographer, score, soundtrack, all this stuff. Like, this whole film is just chock full of original performances, original people, and we need all of them. We're in demand for all of them.
Yeah, I do really wonder if Indy is gonna like. People are already saying like Scream Queen. I mean, she's been in one horror movie, so like I don't know if that's
Right,
a
right.
fair title. And yeah, I don't want her to become like just the horror girl,
Like
and
Jenna Ortega.
right. And I don't think she will be. I think she has a lot of like range and a lot of like
Yeah,
different things to do. That's just me thinking that. I don't really know because we haven't seen her in anything else.
yeah,
Might have to go back and try to watch some of her earlier stuff and kind of get more of an overall feel of what she's capable of. But if this is any indication, I really think she could do anything. So it'd be really cool
yeah,
to see even like a big auteur like pick her up and put her in a role and see what happens
yeah.
there. I don't think she just has to be like the crazy horror girl either. She doesn't
Uh-uh.
feel like that's all she has in the bag.
No, and the screen presence is there, which is half the battle with a lot of people. But then it's the little things she's doing that, like, a seasoned, again, actress would not be maybe capable of doing, even like acting with your eyes, with your movement, and that speaks again to direction. But man, like, a lot of things that she's doing that, like, another weird comparison, like, I think Pattinson does well is act with his eyes,
Mm,
and she's acting with her eyes and facial features. Like, she feels like she's in control of her body this whole time, despite being completely out of control through the movie. Like, every
mm-hmm,
move feels so intentional, so like, well thought through. Like, she's like, oh, I can do this trick, and the Richards do that. Like,
mm-hmm.
it's one of those things where you just feel like you're pushing the boundaries of yourself through a performance. And so keep that, please.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? I mean, I think we've covered a lot here. How do we wrap up the obsession episode?
Yeah, just really, really hard to beat stuff like this. Like, this is why we go to movies. This is why we enjoy film. This is why we like talking about it, because this can spawn into a million different discussions, and it went where it went today. But I think we could do like 4 more podcasts about this film,
Yeah.
right? In different directions where we want to take it, a sequel idea, this, that. But this is what film is all about, dude. Uh, it's really up there for me. Like it's a 4 stars on my letterbox review, but it's close to like 4.5. Like it's really in that upper echelon for me of horror films. It's gonna be one I revisit for years, and one I hope to see, you know, have a nostalgia for because of a lot of the places these actors and producers and writers go.